Hello everyone, my name is Ethan Williams. I'll be your instructor for this semester, and in this video I am going to be going through MAC1105's introduction for the fall semester. Now what I'm going to do is show you everything that's on Canvas, what's in the syllabus, all that good stuff. But one thing I'll make a note of, I'm doing this showing you through section 48, but this will also apply to the section 42 class as well. Everything on here will be identical. Just a warning, this video, just like any first day in class when you're in a normal face-to-face type of class, is just going to be all about what I just described. So anticipate the video being about 40 to 45 minutes. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and jump into it. I'll start with the syllabus. Now, for those of you that are new to college or new to TCC, there is all our syllabi are in this simple syllabus format. So on our course page, you'll have a very simple being intentionally straightforward menu over here. You want to click on the simple syllabus. And what it will do is it will bring up exactly our syllabus. And one thing that's nice, I'm going to walk you through this, but if you're in the middle of the semester, you know something's in here, you don't have to click through the whole thing or scroll. You can click on it. Oh, I want to know how our grades are. You can click on it like that. So very handy, useful tool in my opinion. All right, so like I said, my name is Ethan Williams. My email address is ethan.williams@tcc.fl.edu. Now with that, if you message me through Canvas, it goes to my email. So regardless of whether you email me directly or message me through Canvas, it will go to my email and I will respond to you in the same way. All right, don't have an office phone and all my classes are online. So my office location, basically we meet virtually, so when you have a question you will contact me through email or Canvas messaging. My office hours are Monday and Tuesday evenings. Now one thing I will advise you on specifically to office hours, what these mean is that if you message me around these times or right before, then I will be available to answer your questions very quickly. They will still be done through email or some texting format, but in general, I will respond to any emails you have within 24 hours. However, during office hours, I am sitting at my computer available to answer your questions. So you'll get much quicker responses in general on Monday and Tuesday evenings. Right, course description, and in general, when I go through this, I'm not going to read every word. I'm just going to hit the highlights. Course description for MAC1105 College Algebra. We talk about a lot of different things regarding functions, so inverse, linear, quadratic, how to solve equations and inequalities, and some applications, which means we'll do some sections specific to word problems. Now, you may not take this course. So in general, I always say, hey, you wouldn't have been able to sign up for this anyway, but you cannot take this course if you have a grade of C or better in a math class of equal or higher level. It is a 3-credit course, and the prereq is basically if you have taken MAT 1033 College Algebra, a C or better. Often, especially if this is your first semester in college, you probably took some placement tests and were given the score of whatever that is, and your score placed you in this course. One question I always get, especially in our math courses, is what is the textbook? We don't really have a textbook. I will show you what's available online, but we're going to have very direct, very straightforward lecture notes, lecture videos, and everything. There is a textbook that you can use. It is free. You don't have to pay for it. And it's really there to be supplemental to what you learn. Course outcomes. So you can read through these specifically. They're just, types of math problems that you're going to learn. So you'll solve various types of equations or inequalities, including quadratic, absolute value, exponential, or logarithmic. You will do some things with graphs. So looking at graphs and their formulas, how are changing the formulas going to change the shape of a graph? We do have one graphing calculator section in this course. You do not have to buy a graphing calculator if you do not own one, which is a nice thing. There's a free version that you are allowed to use for all assessments, including tests. So if you do not own a graphing calculator and don't want to spend $100 on one, I have a helpful link that you can watch how to use that free resource. So this is pretty similar to above. We'll solve some applied problems, meaning word problems, figure out how to compute inverse and composite functions, and describe the relationships between the equation of a function and its graph. Specifically, what is the domain, what is the range, what are the x and y intercepts, and all that good stuff. I'll skip the general education learning outcomes. Feel free to read those. It's just generically describing what we did above. Same thing for program learning outcomes. This is a math class, so you're going to learn how to solve some math problems. So course expectations, that's really what is expected out of you to be able to complete this course, pass it, and do as well as you can. So first off, there's a variety of assignments in this course, but really in any math course, what you're going to see is you're going to see homework, you're going to see quizzes, practice tests, and tests. That's really every college level math course. Some might have some projects, but this one does not. And I'm going to talk about each one specifically and their pacing, how they're due, and so on and so forth in a moment. So I guess before I talk about that specifically, all your assignments, homework, quizzes, tests, and practice tests will be using an online homework platform called Lumen Ohm. Now, it is free insofar as once you've paid the tuition for this course, you've paid a little bit of a fee. I think it's $25 to get access to it. So you don't have to sign up for anything. You don't have to pay for anything extra once you're in this course. And it is an online homework platform, but the word homework is just that. It's really homework, quizzes, tests, because this is an online class, so everything's on there. Now, for the homework, our homework is worth 18% of your final grade. All graded homework assignments for this course are done on Canvas, as I just described, and in general, Friday nights are when your homework is due. There's only one exception, and that's usually around holidays when we don't actually have Friday class. I won't read through all these, but one of the clear things that you've probably always heard of in every math class is if you don't do the homework, you're not going to pass the course because you need that practice. It's not enough just to watch a lecture, listen to it. Most of the time, you're not going to remember everything. So make sure you are doing your homework. Quizzes are due weekly, except for weeks we have tests, and they are due on Sundays. Right? Quizzes, they're similar to homeworks, except that homeworks are going to have unlimited attempts at problems. You can always try to get it right. Quizzes, you'll have 4 attempts at each problem, so it's a little less of a high stress environment, if you want to call it that, than a test where you only get 1 attempt, but you don't have unlimited attempts either. And quizzes are going to be worth 9% of your final grade. And one thing that is not on here, but I have specifically on Canvas that we'll see later, is that your lowest quiz grade is dropped. So if you do miss one, or you just don't perform well on one, it'll be dropped, but only one of them will be dropped. All right, so homework and quizzes are going to be special in that you will be able to use late passes on them. If you're not familiar with it, late passes are something that you are given in Lumen Home, and it basically extends the deadline to homework, assignments, quizzes. You can't use them for practice tests or tests. Those are due when they're due. But you can always use homework and quizzes, late passes to extend the deadline. Now, you will be given plenty of late passes at the beginning of the semester, but you will not be given extra throughout the semester. So use them wisely. I won't go and read all the details here because I have a quick assignment. I can show you how they work. But for the most part, a late pass will extend your homework or quiz for 72 hours. So if your homework's due on Friday, you don't get it till Sunday, you have to use a late pass, but then you'll be able to do your homework. There's no penalty for using a late pass. Okay. So anything else here? We don't really need to talk about the specifics. I'm going to show you how they work. But you always have this as a reference. Practice tests, there's going to be a practice test for each test, including the final exam. We haven't talked about the structure of the course yet, but there's 3 tests and a final exam, which is cumulative. So there will be in total 4 practice tests. These are always due midnight the day before the test is due. Okay, and they are worth 3% of your overall grade. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it can really make the difference, not only from being 3% of your final grade, but they are basically going to be the same exact questions that are on your test. So if you can take the practice test and do well without using notes or homework or other people, then you can do very well on the test. You're free to use resources. You're not proctored during practice tests, but you really want to get to the point of being able to do the problems without any resources because you're not going to have them on the test. Additionally, if you get at least a 90% on the practice test, you will get a 3% bonus to that test score. This is not rounded, so if you get an 89.9, it's not going to count. You have to get a 90. But it is going to be set up like a homework assignment in that you can do every single problem as many times as you need to get it correct. Unit tests, there will be 3 unit tests as I just described. You'll be given 90 minutes for each. They will be made available the week that they are due. So tests are due on Sundays, and the Monday before it through Sunday is when it is available, which if you're thinking about getting ahead in the course, working fast, maybe you can get done quickly. You won't be able to take the tests at your own leisure. You can do everything else on your own free will, with the exception of you can't do assignments too late. You need to stay on top of them, or you will run out of late passes. But you cannot take tests earlier than a week. And then the final exam, it's just like a test. It'll be made available for the week, but the difference is it's worth a little bit more of your grade. It's 20% instead of 15. It is cumulative, so everything we talk about in the whole semester is something you will be tested on. It's worth 100 points, but every test is worth 100 points. That's not really the important thing. The important thing is that it's worth 20% of your grade. The other thing that students always ask, will my final take the place of my lowest test score? It will, as long as it is better. So that'll only be done if it improves your grade, which means if you do miss a test or you just do very poorly on a test and you know you could have done better, there's not makeup tests. You won't be able to make it up, but the final exam is an opportunity for you to improve that grade. Next little section, course outline. This is really what we already talked about. There's the topics that are in the course. But the more important thing in here that I want to point out is the pacing schedule. So this is going to be when everything is due. It shows you the pattern of how everything is due. It's also going to have some important deadlines here. So in general, this column here is just the Monday of that week. It's not important except for the fact that it's the start of the week. I think of our weeks as Monday to Sunday. Fridays are when your homework is due. So right here, you can kind of see how much is due every week. In general, you have about 2 to 3 homework assignments due every week, except for towards the end of the course. Saturdays are either when our discussions due, so I haven't talked about that. We'll get to that in a second. Or practice tests if it's a test week. So quiz weeks, there's a discussion. Test weeks, there's a practice test. Sunday is when either the quiz or tests are due. The one exception to this rule is in finals week. Finals week, it ends in the middle of a week. So our final exam is due on December 6th. The practice final is due the day before, December 5th. If we go ahead and look at the calendar, you'll be able to see that is not a Friday and a Sunday. So I'll go ahead and show you real quick. December 6th is the Wednesday, so our final exam is due on a Wednesday, and the practice final, because it's the day before, is due on a Tuesday. All right, so some important dates. August 21st is the first day of class. August 23rd is the last day you can add a class. August 25th, which is that Friday of the first week, is the last day you can drop a class and receive a refund. So if you decide on Saturday this or another one of your classes isn't right for you, you can't get that refund. You actually have to withdraw. It goes on your transcript and you don't get your refund. So be aware of that. The deadline for withdrawal just happens to be on Halloween this year. It's 10/31. And then some holidays. Labor Day is on September 4th, so doesn't impact online courses much. If you don't normally do anything on Mondays for our class, then you won't do anything on Mondays, but you can. Veterans Day is actually on November 11th, which is a Saturday, so it's observed November 10th. And then Thanksgiving break, I have it kind of outlined as it looks like the whole week, but it's really only the Wednesday through Friday, the 22nd through 24th of November. So just keep that in mind for your other courses. And if you have any in-person classes, you might have to go in on the Monday and Tuesday, but I set my class up to give you just the whole week off. So if you don't have to do anything, if you're all caught up, you won't have to do anything for this course on the week of Thanksgiving. The only thing that is not up here is something called an honor lock practice test. Some of you might be familiar with honor lock. For those of you that are not, it's the test proctoring service we use. And this practice test, there's not going to be any math. It's just to make sure you know how to sign on and get prepared so that when test 1 comes around and you have to actually get on honor lock correctly, you're not scrambling and under any more pressure. You want to make sure you're focused on the test, not how do I get on this honor lock. All right, so how your grades are determined for the semester. Discussions are worth 5% of your grade. Homework's 18. Quizzes are 9. Unit tests are 45% because it's 15% each. Our final exam is 20%. And then the practice tests are the last 3%. And then the grading scale, very much standard. 90 and above is an A, 80 to 89.9 is a B, 70 to 79.9 is a C, and so on. So tips for student success. I'm not going to go through the details here, but what I've done, the way I've set my online courses up is really to help you be structured. Online courses can often be confusing. You don't know where all your resources are, or it's kind of scattered. What I've done, and you'll see that when we go to the homepage and explore the Canvas site more, is that every section we have a homework assignment, a lecture video, blank notes. So if you want to print them out and follow the lecture videos and fill them out, you can do that. And I also have filled out notes. So for those of you that are, confident in math, maybe you jump right to those. I don't typically recommend that, just because even if you do feel strong at math, it's typically very difficult to look at a completed math problem and not feel overwhelmed with what's going on. So really, I'll only recommend that after you've watched the lecture video. All right. Straightforward tips for success. Really doing all the work that's assigned, right? That's really just saying, do the homework, do the quizzes, do the practice tests. So when the tests come around, you're as prepared as possible. Use all the resources available. So inside Canvas, you will see those lecture videos, those course notes. You can email me. And then other academic resources outside of class, which are a little bit lower in the syllabus, we'll get to. So that's available to you. And then this is really just talking about the structure of, how I would approach this course if I was a student. But really one thing that I want to stress is that when you're watching the lecture videos, it's a long time if you try to watch an entire lecture video without a break just because there's so much information. It's just like being in class and listening to someone lecture for 45 minutes, sort of like I'm doing now, but you could take a break as well in this. But really, my recommendation is watch 10 to 15 minutes of the lecture video at a time. And then honestly, it's up to you how you want to approach it. But I would probably say, okay, I just watched a problem like this done. Look at the homework assignment. The homework assignment problems are very similar to the lecture video problems, and see if you can do the homework assignment problem. But that's really what this says. You do that, approach the homework like that, and then you'll be ready for the quiz at the end of the week. You take all the quizzes. You'll be ready, to take the practice test. You do the practice test, fill in the blanks by going back to your notes that you've made, hold homework assignments or quizzes, help yourself get ready for the test, and then take the test. A lot of these that I'm about to scroll through are just everything in every syllabus at TCC, so I won't spend time going through them. If you want to read them on your own, you can. One thing I will talk specifically about, so the Student Academic Resources Center office location. So typically, if you get extended time on tests, that's really the main resource or accessibility that students have, especially for an online course. You have to make sure you have an appointment to have a little sheet. They fill out a sheet and say you can get these accommodations, and then you send that accommodation to me, and I can give you that extra time. All right, so if you're new to college, you got extra time taking tests in high school. It's not going to automatically carry over, so make sure you make an appointment. And then they'll tell you what to do, but you'll basically get a little form that says you get these accommodations, you forward it to all your professors, and you'll get those accommodations that you need. So academic resources, aka help outside of classes, you have the Learning Commons, which is a great resource. If you are a purely online student, you don't even live in Tallahassee, you're not necessarily going to make a lot of use of this because it is a physical location, but if you are in Tallahassee, it is a great idea to go there. QLess tutoring, that's basically how you log onto the Learning Commons, but an online version of it. There's also BrainFuse online tutoring, which is 24/7 tutoring and resources. The Learning Commons website, which is a link up here, will tell you how to get to it. There's also a link to it over here. It won't work for me because I'm not a real student, so I can't show you how it works. But it's just following directions. So library, don't often use a library unless it's just a quiet place for a math class. So the rest of these I'll skip over. Class recordings, we're an online class, so if you want to record the lecture video recordings, feel free to, but they're on YouTube, so there's no reason to do that. And expectations. So attendance policy for an online course is you need to participate each week. What does participating mean? Well, it means you either worked on a homework assignment that was due that week or a quiz, any assignment that was due that week. So if you're like 6 weeks behind and you're trying to catch up, and I don't see that you worked on anything for this specific week, keep that in mind. You might be marked absent. One thing you can do, especially if you are trying to catch up, is emailing me. So if you contact me, you will be marked as present that week. Just keep in mind that, you shouldn't do this every week. Oh, I'm just going to email my professor and say XYZ. If that's the only way you're quote unquote participating, then that's not going to continue to work. So just keep that in mind. You do need to be working on the course as well. Working on discussion boards, so that's just another type of assignment. But doing any assignment that's due that week, reaching out to me, you will be marked as attended. And especially in a math class, if you're missing 1 or 2 weeks because you're sick or something, you can catch up. It's not the end of the world. If you feel like you're missing a month or more and you're falling behind, right. Withdrawing from a course, so I talked about it a little earlier. The deadline is October 31st. Withdrawing is your responsibility, but if you do stop working and attending the course, especially for many weeks leading up to withdrawal deadline, you might automatically be withdrawn. You will be reached out to by someone at the school, at Student Resources Office, and if you don't respond to them, you will be withdrawn. Just beware of that. But if you just stop working on the course basically right around or after the withdrawal deadline, so it doesn't look like you're not working on it, then you're going to stay in the course. You're not going to be automatically withdrawn, but you're going to get zeros for all that missing work. And likely missing a final exam in a math course is going to lead to not passing the course. So make up work guidelines. Kind of talked before, you have these things called late passes. So if you miss a couple homework assignments, a quiz because you were sick, you couldn't do it in time, you just use the late passes. You don't have to reach out to me. Like I said, there's no penalty using late passes. You'll be fine. If you miss a test and you would like to request a makeup, meaning, I missed the test, it was due Sunday, I was sick, I didn't feel like I was in a headspace, but I feel better now on Wednesday, then having documentation such as a doctor's note is fine, and we can give you a makeup. But you do need some type of documentation. There is a limiting factor of that. If you're coming to me a month after test 1 and saying, oh, I didn't take the test, I was sick, can I take it now? The answer is going to be no. That's way too long. And you're going to be in the situation where your final exam will take the place of that missing test grade. Academic dishonesty, if you cheat in any way whatsoever and you are caught, you will get a 0 on that assignment. The only thing we're really proctored on are tests. So, if you're working with fellow classmates or others on homeworks, quizzes, practice tests, that's not against the rules. But as soon as you do that on a test, then you can get a 0. And a 0 on a test is almost certainly going to lead to not passing to this course. And given a 0 because of cheating, you will not get that grade replaced by a final exam grade. Student responsibility, I won't read all this, but long story short, had many students over the years come to me towards the end of the semester not doing as well as they like, never contacted me once, and then the last week asking me for a lot of extra credit. I really need to get a B because if I don't, I'll lose my scholarship. That's something you need to be aware of yourself throughout the semester. I cannot give you a grade you don't earn. I'm not going to give out extra credit The extra credit you have in this course are the practice tests, and you will not be given any extra for that. You have plenty of late passes to make up work. I give you more than virtually any other professor is going to give you. So just keep that in mind. I'm happy to work with you, but I can't change your grade, and I'm not going to change any grades that you've gotten already. Right, so reminder, we just went through a lot of stuff pretty quickly, but your syllabus, which has the pacing in it, it's very useful. Refer to it often if you have questions about the grading scale and things like that. I'm now going to walk through what's in Canvas, and this will take 10 to 15 minutes, and then we'll be done with our video. All right, so the home page is where really everything is, and I'm signed on to my student account, which means that what I see is what you see. So course information, we have student office hours. If you click on that, it will just tell you exactly that. It's very straightforward since this is just an online class. That's also in the syllabus. Introduction videos where this will go. There will be an announcement I send out regarding that before it happens, so you'll know it's here. It's not like you could possibly watch this to figure out it's there. Online graphing calculators. So I alluded to the fact that there is online graphing calculator that you can use for any assignment, including a test. The one I recommend, option 1 here, is Desmos. I'm not going to walk through, there's a video in here, but basically you can just mess around with this thing. You can type in your equations, it'll graph it for you. Y equals X, making you that graph, and so on. And there's an instructional video for Desmos here as well, where I just walk through how you can use it. One of the things I think about in terms of this and what's in this course when we have to use the online graphing calculator is Desmos is way better at doing what we need. The TI-83 or 84 graphing calculator is nice, and if you're in a math intensive major, you might need to use it. And by all means, learn how to use that. But for this course specifically, the one thing that we do, it's a lot better to use Desmos. There is a second option here. I typically don't use it very much, but it's basically mimics how the TI-84 looks. So you can type in your equations, you have your window, your mode, you don't really do a lot of this stuff, and then table values. Okay, so we have that available to us. Textbook links. This is what I was referring to before. We have a textbook. I don't really often refer to it because the lecture videos are more direct when you go through a textbook, as I'm sure you've all looked at a math textbook before. It's often very detailed and has a lot of information that might not be that useful, and you're trying to figure out what's important to what's not important. It's not that it's not a good resource, but if you're trying to stay focused on what you need to learn, the textbook links are supplementary, but not your primary resource. Here's a couple extra links regarding the graphing calculator. Just lost my train of thought. So the one thing we'll be doing is referring to a graphing calculator to find minimums, maximums, and zeros. If that means nothing to you right now, that's okay. This is just a couple questions with their answers that I wrote out a long time ago. So you're going to watch the videos. You're going to figure out how to do these with a calculator. And if you need extra practice, here's a couple extra questions for you. And here's some basic graphing functions for the TI-83. It's a nice little handout someone made a long time ago. Like I said, basically, if you try to do this stuff in Desmos and watch the video, it's a lot easier. But if you do have to use the graphing calculator in your major, it's not a bad idea to learn how to do this as well, even if it's not how you do it on the test. Discussions are going to be very straightforward. what you'll do is every week we'll have certain things that you are lectured on and that you're working on in the homeworks. They're outlined here, the topics. What you're going to do is you're going to make an initial post. You're going to do that by Saturday night of the week, and you're going to just answer these 3 questions. The one learning outcomes you're comfortable with, the ones that you thought were most challenging, and any questions that you thought were difficult. Now, you don't necessarily have an answer to all these questions every week. Some weeks, some of you are going to find everything easy, and really you're going to say none for these, and that's okay. So the other thing is, that should be 2. That is a typo, so my apologies. You'll also respond to 2 of your peers, and that will be worth 6 points. So in total, a discussion post is worth 10 points, 4 for your initial, 3 for each peer response, coming to the 6. And you're just going to respond to them like, if they thought something was easy and you thought it was hard, maybe you ask, hey, I thought this was difficult, but can you show me how you did it, or something like that. Hopefully they'll respond to you. The idea is to be, this is our interactive time since we're in an online class. So every discussion board is like that. Quizzes. So I have a little handout on how the quizzes work. You can read this. It's just going to outline how they work. They're like homework, except you only get 4 tries per problem. All quizzes are worth the same amount of points, except except syllabus quiz. And this is actually needs to be fixed. You are allowed to use late passes on quizzes. So that's a typo. And that'll be fixed by the time you're actually in the course. And your lowest quiz grade is dropped. This is automatically computed through the semester. So once you take 2 quizzes, your lowest one of the 2 is dropped. If you have 100 and a 90, it's going to drop to 90, but it'll switch to the lowest one throughout the semester. So just be aware of that when you're looking at your quiz grade, the lowest one is automatically dropped. So I'm just going to open a random quiz and kind of show you how it works a little bit. The first time you log on, you're just going to have to agree to this Lumen stuff. So this is the button I was referring to with the late pass. If it's past due, you won't be able to start without this, but since it's not past due, I don't have to use one. However, I'm just going to click one just so you can see what will happen. So you're going to have this many late passes to start, and basically it's telling me, oh, this is due Sunday, the 17th of September, but I can extend it by 3 days if I redeem it. So if I do it now, my deadline is extended by 3 days, and now I start. You can use late passes after you start. So if you start on time, but then the next time you look at it, you have to use a late pass, just keep that in mind. And then the way this will work, I'm just going to get this wrong 4 times so you can see that. And it says, okay, I got it wrong. I can't get any points. And it'll tell you the right answer. Then you go to the next question and do the same thing. All right, so keep that in mind. You cannot do a quiz problem over and over again. Practice tests. So practice test bonuses are set up like I described. So if you get at least a 90% on a practice test, you'll get a 3% bonus on your test grade. But it is strict, and if you do not get a 90%, if you get an 89.9, it won't count. One thing I will show you is what I mean by you can do a problem unlimited times. So I'm not going to bother trying to get this one right, but what happens, I have 3 attempts. After 3 attempts, unlike the quiz where I have to go to the next question, I can get a similar question. And then I have 3 more attempts at this one. If I don't want to use all 3, you can. But you can just keep doing that until you get it right. There's helpful videos on the practice test because they're not proctored, to help yourself out if you need that. One thing that is nice is that if you do get a question right on the practice test, but you want to practice it again, your highest score is automatically saved. I just went ahead and got this problem right real quickly. So you can see I got it right. I got my 4 points. It's going to save my 4 points. If I want to practice it again, I can click get a similar question. If I get it wrong, it'll tell you what your score on the last try is, but you got to record a score still at 4 points. So that 4 points will stay forever, even if I want to try it again. So that's how practice tests work. Low stress. You can do them as much as you want. The tests are all on HonorLock. They have a helpful video in here, how to get onto HonorLock. And when the time comes, I will direct you here as a reminder. All right, so this is really the meat of everything. This is going to show you from here on down, it's basically the structure I was talking about. Every section, except for this introduction, which is just how to enter answers. We have a lecture video, blank notes, filled out notes, and homework. So the lecture video, you can open the link here. You can watch it on YouTube or here, and it'll just be me going through a video just like this. You can speed it up, slow it down, do whatever you need to. But the idea here is if you open these blank notes, maybe you can even print them out if you'd like. The problems I go through here are exactly the problems in the same order that are in the lecture video, so you can follow along, you can make your notes. The filled out notes, if I open one of those, this will take longer, it's just a bigger file to open. But the filled out notes are going to be exactly the same thing, and it's exactly the same work I do in the lecture video. It's just the final product with some comments about what you're doing. All right, so close that out, and then the homework assignments, these are just like the practice tests, except there's focus to that specific section. And once again, you didn't see that pop up on the practice test when I opened it, but homework, you can use late passes. So this is once again asking me if I want to redeem one. I don't need to because it's not due yet. So I'll click start. And it's set up exactly the same. You get 3 tries per problem, like a practice test. You can click get a similar question 99 times. That's actually the maximum. But I've never once had a student that needed to do that more. I couldn't imagine how long it would take to guess 300 times at a problem anyway. The one benefit of homework assignments that the others don't is there's a message instructor button. So if you have a question on this problem, you can click it. It'll automatically send it to me. It'll tell me what problem you're working on, and I'll even see what your answer attempts were. One thing I would suggest, it's very difficult for me if you just send this without any context, because the lecture videos are basically these problems anyway. So I'm going to refer you to watching the lecture video, unless if you tell me I am getting stuck on this step. And maybe it's like the step when you distribute or something like that. Just keep that in mind. Give me a little hint as to where you are getting stuck on. I don't expect you to take a picture of your work. If you do that, that's great. That's the best thing that's helpful for me because I can see exactly what you're doing, but that's a lot of work and I understand that. Just tell me where you think you're getting stuck and I can work with you from there. Right, so like I said, everything is structured like this. The units are broken down when the test ends. So test 1 will be through this section, then test 2 is on unit 2, test 3 is on unit 3, and so on. There are a couple additional final exam review materials down here. I'll mention that more when the time comes. So that's really what's on the home page. Announcements are just where the announcements are for the course. These are all going to be deleted, by the way. These are old. Yours will be blank when you get in here. Your grades tab is going to be, you're probably most familiar with this, where your grades are stored. Any assignment that you start, even if you only answer one question, is automatically graded. So I very literally clicked on the homework assignment. I didn't really do anything. It's going to tell me I have a 0 out of 20, but that's okay. You can always go back and improve it. Same thing for the quiz. If you remember the practice test, I got that one problem right, so that's why that says 4. And then your overall grade, currently as it's calculated, is down here. Right, now you can play the what if game with grades, but that's more relevant by the end of the semester, not really at the beginning. One thing I will say is if you start up an assignment, you do not want to re-enter it through the gradebook. You're going to get this every time. It's always going to say no preview available. So if I want to go back and work on homework 1.1 again, I just go to the home tab, scroll down, there's my homework 1.1, open it, and I'm right back in. And like I said before, it'll always ask you if you want to redeem a late pass on homework and quizzes, but I don't need to do that yet. And it's going to remember all your progress. All right, so like I said before, the Brain Fuse, that's some online tutoring, 24/7 available. It's probably not going to work for me. I'm not a real student. See, yours will be fine. Study Edge, this also won't work for me because I'm an online student. Well, and semesters past it hasn't. It just loads forever. But what it is, it's an online platform for college algebra, specifically with extra videos and help. The Honor Lock tab, you never need to go here. I have to make it visible to you so that I can actually proctor your test with Honor Lock. Otherwise, you never need to click on it. I don't have Honor Lock currently downloaded, so it's telling me, hey, you need to download this. And then attendance, also, you don't really need to go here. This is for me to take your attendance weekly. All right, so that is my rundown of the course. Ultimately, the thing I'm trying to get at is the syllabus has a lot of helpful information. We went through everything you do, whether it's lecture videos, homework, discussions, quizzes, blah, 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 all that stuff can all be accessed through the the home tab. So do keep that in mind. It's very helpful to know and use. I try to make this as straightforward as possible because I've had online classes as a student and I always thought I don't know where everything is. But for you, I tried to make it, hey, just come to the home tab. That's where everything is. We have a couple other tabs if you want to go through them. Probably the syllabus and the grades are the other ones you'll mostly look at, along with the announcements on occasion. Okay. So with that, I wish you all good luck in the semester. If you have any questions, let me know. And I guess the other thing I want to say is that the syllabus introduction quiz is kind of based on the syllabus in this introduction video. It's set up so that, I'll actually click on it to show you. Virtually every question, you have 3 tries on this. Almost every question is true false with the exception of really just the first one. And when you submit the quiz, I'm just going to submit it anyway. It's going to tell you which one's right. So really, if you get them all wrong, and you just remember the answer and then do it again on your second try, you can get 100%. The idea is just, these are the key questions I want you to know the answer to going forward. So just keep all that stuff in mind. And like I said, good luck on the semester. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be here to help. And thank you for watching this video.